Hey, it's Christopher the Bronze Age Nerd. Welcome to another episode of Bronze Buys. So I'm starting out with my favorite pickup from this week, and this is something I've been waiting for since September when I ordered it. This is a cover that the legendary Mayhew did, and he's done 3 different versions of this cover, and I have all 3 signed by him. Not in a CGC signature series on the other 2, but I do have them signed. The first one was a blue background with the Baroness in a black evening gown, which is a pretty cool cover. And the second one was an all-white background with her in a white suit. And then this one got announced as the last one for $275. And it's the red background in her classic black and red costume. And I think it's just fantastic. I'm really happy to have this in my collection. It's probably one of my favorite covers to come out in a long time. Mr. Mayhew, you killed it with this one. Thank you for getting this comic book to me in a 9.8. I'm really happy. Okay, next up is an order I got in. It's my first order ever with a company called Sanctorum Comics. And boy, was I impressed with their packing. They did a fantastic job packing up these comics and getting them out to me. I really like some of the stuff they had on their site. I basically went there for one comic I'll mention later, but I found a bunch of other cool stuff that was priced exactly where I wanted it to be priced, and I couldn't resist picking it up. First, I've been looking for this comic book for a while. I finally got a copy of this Deja Thoris #1. This is the J. Scott Campbell cover, and I'm a big J. Scott Campbell fan, so I had to get this one. Next, they had this Jim Lee Harley Quinn Suicide Squad special, and I had to grab this too. I love Jim Lee's artwork, and I thought he did a great job on Harley Quinn. So I'm going into the Naomi spec. That's the reason I grabbed these, and I actually grabbed a few copies of Naomi 5 here, which is her first appearance in costume, and I believe her origin as well. I own one other copy, so after I picked up these, I'm now up to 4 copies of Naomi #5. So this is actually the comic that I went and sought out Sanctorum Comics for. This is the trade dress Naughty and Nice cosplay special with Punchline by Ebass on the cover. I ended up actually getting a version of this from Comics Elite, which you can check out the video for a couple of videos back, but still I had to grab this one when I found it because it was the only one I could find at the time, and they had it for a good price, so I snagged it. Another J. Scott Campbell's cover score. This is Sheena. This is another Dynamite title, Sheena #1, and J. Scott Campbell covers. If I find them for a good price, I pick them up. Speaking of great artists, this Adam Hughes Supergirl #1, I had to grab it too because I'm a big Adam Hughes fan, and I think this is one of his better covers I've seen recently. Also grabbed this amazing cover for Supergirl 16. And then 2 of the most exciting books I found there, War of the Realms, New Agents of Atlas, #1. This is the A cover. Just a ton of first appearances, a really hot spec book, and this one's in great shape, so I'm really glad I grabbed it. And I also got the second print cover as well, so I'm pretty happy to have that. Okay, next up I have a haul from my local comic book shop, which is called Diversified Games. It's in Chehalis, Washington. I say local, I live quite a ways away from it, but it's the closest shop to me. So I went there to browse one day and ended up picking up some pretty cool stuff. First up, we have Aliens vs. Predator #1, the Philip Norwood cover. I ended up picking up some Alpha Flight. I got an Alpha Flight #2. And this cover, unfortunately, this is a pretty beat up copy and definitely very dirty, but this is Snowblind. And I just had read John Byrne's run on Alpha Flight maybe about a year ago, and this issue really stuck with me. It has a lot of white panels because it does take place during a whiteout, and there's a bit of a battle that happens. It's just kind of a cool concept, and kind of like the silent issue from G.I. Joe 21. It's just kind of an interesting idea, and it's another one of those comics that I kind of wanted to have in my collection. This is the first Omega Flight full appearance, Alpha Flight #11. And I added another copy in my collection of this, which is the first time that Heather Hudson takes over as Vindicator to lead Alpha Flight. Snagged a copy, another copy, actually I have another one of this too, Angela #1, and Asgard's Assassin. So I think Angela's definitely coming to the MCU, so I grab kind of the Angela keys where I can. I was very happy to find this one. This is probably my favorite pickup from this entire trip. This is Avengers West Coast 62, and this is the first full appearance of the Time Variance Authority. I think that's right, and this is something that's going to be a huge deal coming up for the Loki series that we have coming to Disney Plus. I do have the first Mobius M. Mobius 2 in Fantastic Four 353, I think. So I've been picking up a couple keys for this too, so definitely excited to add this one to the collection. I was in a John Byrne mood, and when I saw this, I grabbed it. These John Byrne covers where he writes on the cover, and you know, this is obviously a major actual art homage. I don't know, I saw this cover when I was a kid, I saw it in the store, and I had picked up this Alpha Flight comics and just had to grab it. I'm a fan of weird 90s comics, like the gimmick covers, like holofoil and stuff like that, and so I grabbed this Fantastic Four 375 because it was in pretty good shape, and it was like 75 cents, so I grabbed it. He had this sitting in a pile. I'm pretty sure it was like a recent pickups pile of something from a collection he bought, and I just grabbed it. It's a cheap Lady Death cover, and I like Lady Death stuff, so grab this one too. I will collect minor X-Men spec for ridiculously cheap prices all day long. I paid $1.75 for this bad boy, and it's the first Beak and the first Glob. Not a major key by any stretch of the imagination, but I had to grab this too. Just a cover buy. This is from around the time that I stopped reading X-Men. I think I went through like 400 before I kind of quit collecting Uncanny X-Men's. And I had this at one point. Just remember this cover and just had to grab it again. I don't think there's a lot of spec left on this book, but I saw a good copy of Undiscovered Country 1, so I figured I'd grab that too. I'm a big fan of Finch art, and this was one of his cooler covers. You know, this sort of demonic magic cover, call back to the whole storyline back in the 80s with the Inferno event, so I just had to grab this one too. I think this book actually has like a reasonable amount of spec behind it once we ever see Wolverine in the MCU. If we ever get a scene where Magneto pulls out Wolverine's adamantium like he did in this issue, this book will skyrocket. This was in great shape. There's only one kind of potentially pressable spine tick. This is that harder card stock, so it might not press out, but I figured I had to add it. Okay, last up for the bronze buys this week, I have a Things from Another World order that I got in. This one was pretty heavy on some spec, so I got Batman 106, and I ended up getting 3 copies of that. Then I got the B cover. Three copies of that as well. And then of course I grabbed a Berserker #1, a Brooks cover, got my Captain America tribute in, Children of the Atom, the Knock cover, grabbed 3 of those. And then I got 2 of the A cover, another copy of the Art Germ Demon Days X-Men cover, Infinite Frontier 0, which I think is a pretty decent spec book. So I got a few copies of the A cover, and I loved this B cover, so I grabbed a few of those too. And then I finished it off with 3 copies of Star Wars High Republic Adventures #2. So you might ask yourself, where are my Comics Elite shipments? Usually you have some stuff from Comics Elite. Well, I did. I actually got 2 shipments from Comics Elite this week, both of which were a little bit older. And I'm actually going to do a separate video on that because there's some stuff going on with Comics Elite that I sort of wanted to touch on in its own video. If there's anything you picked up this week that you want to share with me, I'd love to hear about it down below in the comments. Also, if you're interested in supporting the channel, I do have a Ko-fi. You can donate a amount of money in your choosing to me. Any dollars that you do donate will go back into the channel and will help me things with like production costs, buying more comics, or hopefully eventually upgrading my camera, lighting, and sound, and all that kind of stuff as well. And any donation you make is appreciated. Just want to thank everybody for watching, and I want to remind you, as always, hey, read comics every day.